Shahzad from First Drive, and today we're going to be building the First Drive Jeep3. Let's get started. Next, we're going to be installing our rear axle. Looks just like this piece over here, and we're going to be unscrewing these pieces over here. Now, there's no wrong way to put it in. It could go either like that or reverse, so you don't have to worry about that. Now that these screws are removed, we're going to go ahead and put our rear axle right in. You can move these along the pole as much as you need to. You just slide it right in. Don't worry about the pole not being centered for right now. We're going to fix that in a little bit. And there we go. You go ahead and put back the screws that you just took out. Next, we're going to attach these two metal pieces. They are called the front prop sheet irons. So they're going to go right over here. So first thing we're going to do are going to remove these screws so we can put them in place. Now that the screws are removed, we want to put our bars in. Now pay attention to the bar a little bit. You have a nice rough side over here, a flat, and one part that's a little bit round over here, and it's got a little bit of gloss on it. You want to go on each side to see which one it fits best on. If it's here or here. Next, we're going to do the other side. Now, we're just going to line it up with the holes. Now, sometimes it may not line up completely, so you want to just kind of push it in a little bit. And if it's not lining up properly, just put in the screws lightly on each side, and eventually they'll just tighten in place. Next, we're going to start working on the whole front axle assembly over here. We want these two pieces first. Now where they're going to go are in these two square rectangular areas, and they're going to go like that. First, before we even put them in, we're going to go ahead and remove these 4 screws. Now that we got our screws removed, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to place the spot right in and put the 4 screws right back in where they're supposed to belong. Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put together the front axle. This is the front axle piece over here, and it's going to go right over here. But before we do so, we're going to take out all of 8 of these screws. So now that we removed all the screws, we also want the steering rod as well. Now with the steering rod, you want to make sure that this top part is facing upwards. You go ahead, you slide it through the hole, and you put it right into that little gear over there, the little cog. That's your steering motor over there. Now with this piece, you want to go ahead, make sure this piece goes right through that steering rod, and you slide it right into this bar area. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to put back our screws. Next, we're going to put on some side trim over here. Now, the first one we're going to do is right next to the door. Now, how do you know which side's which? This side's a little fatter than this side. The fatter side is going to face the front of the car. Now, what you want to do is you have 3 holes here, 1, 2, and 3. We're going to line up these holes over here. Now, you also have 3 tabs down here, and they're going to want to go into some tabs over here. So you line up, as long as you're lined up with the holes, you should be good. The tabs should line up like fairly straightforward. Now, once you got that, let's give it a little bit of a love tap over here. And it should go right into the slots, and you're ready to put your screws in. You're going to find a little bag of screws. They're pretty much what you use throughout this entire car, except for 2, but we'll go over that later. Next, we're going to go ahead and put on the wheel trim. Now, how do we know which one goes where? If you look closely inside the plastic, it'll tell you RL for rear left, FR for front right, and so on. So you're going to go ahead, now since this is rear left, we're going to pretend that the car is pretty much on its wheels for a second. So if it was on its wheels, this one would be the right, left over here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna line up these tabs over here with these tabs, and we're gonna line up the holes with the holes and tap it in with our hand a little bit. Well, like so. And then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna gently put in these few screws. I would recommend not using a drill for these ones. I would recommend using a long screwdriver. Front molding over here, take a look at this. You wanna make sure that this goes right into the slot, like so. And then you could put in your screw. There we go. Next, we're going to secure the steering rod. In order to do that, you need the washer and the pin. Now, when you're putting the washer on, make sure the flat side goes towards the metal. You pop that right there, and you pop the pin over here. Now, once you got the pin in, you gotta have some pliers. You get the pin, and you just bend it so it doesn't come out. Next, we're going to install the rear bumper. Now, you know it's the rear bumper because it's got this nice little pole over here. Now the pole is going to enter these two holes over here, and like in order to attach this rear bumper, you have a few tabs over here. You have 1 and 2. You're going to line it up right into these two holes over here. So you're going to get it like that. You know, kind of wiggle it in a little bit. You can keep the screws on here. Put the screws in first, and then the pole. And then you just slide this in place. You would just tap it in, and then you have 8 screws that you want to put in here. Your 8 screws will go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you have 2 more on this side. Yeah, you have 5, and then you should have a 6th one right over here, and the same on the other side, 7, 8. You're putting in these screws, you're going to notice that there's no screw holes on here. This was done on purpose by the manufacturer to make sure that when you do screw them in, they will stick. When you get it like that, just go ahead, push the screws right through with your screwdriver. The holes will be made, and you'll have a nice secure fit. Next, we're going to go ahead and set up the front bumper for installation. To do so, you gather all the parts. You have the front bumper trim, you have your 2 lights, these are plastic, they won't light up, and the front arch. Now what you want to do to put them in, they already have the 4 screws right over here. We're going to take each one out and replace it. We're going to first start off with these lights first. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the screw. We're going to go ahead and put this light in. Pretty much this arch over here will always face away from the car. We're going to slide it in and place the screw right in behind again. Next, we're going to go ahead and attach the front bumper. Now, in order to do so, you have 3 tabs over here, 1, 2, and 3, and they're going to actually go into the areas 1, 2, and 3 over here. So we're going to line those up, and then when we do so, we're going to bring these 4 holes and line them up over here. Now over here, we're going to use 2 short screws and 2 long screws over here, 1 and 2. And the long screws can be found in this bag over here with the aux cable, and the long screws look like this. Next, we're going to attach the motors. How do you know which one, where they go? Look for the little stickers on there. This one has an L on it, and there's an L on the body. So we know this one goes to the left side. Just go ahead, slide it right in on one side, and then over here we have an R. We're going to go ahead, take off all washers, all nuts, put the R next to the R, and we go ahead and slide it right in. Now we're going to work on the wheels. We only have one type of wheel, one with with the cog, because this is an all-wheel drive car. Now, if you notice that there's a little hole up here. Now, in the same bag that you had the auxiliary wire, you have these little plastic pieces. You're gonna go ahead and you're gonna slide that right into each one. Now, to put on the wheels, we're gonna start off with the right side. Actually, we'll start off with the right side. Let me go ahead and I'm gonna slide the wheel right on. It's gonna fit right onto the motor, like so. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put only one washer. It comes with two, you just need one. Make sure you have the unfinished side, the flat side, against the wheel. You lightly screw in by hand the nut. Just a little bit right now. Now, we're gonna go to the other side, and I'm gonna show you like a problem that most people may have. Okay? So what I did over here is kind of push and pull a little bit, because a lot of people will notice, hey, I just don't have enough thread on my side. So what will happen is when you put on this wheel over here, put it like that, you may not have enough thread. Why? Because the axle's out of place. So if that ever happens to you, just give it a little bit of a tug, the axle, so you have a little more room on this side, and then try putting on your wheel again. Here, this is the one. I knew it because I put this plastic piece in already. And you put it right in, and the plastic piece did fall off when I did that. Just slide it right in. I'm just pulling the rear axle a little more because I still didn't have enough thread. And there we go, it's right in. Use the washer, right over here, and the nut. Now, after you have both sides loosely on a little bit, get these two wrenches, put one on one side, one on the other, and you start twisting them both in, like so. Don't over tighten, or what's it called? Your wheels may not move, but pretty much get it pretty firmly in. Next, we're gonna put on the wheel trim. What you wanna do is take a look at the slats that are on the wheel. So this one has 4, and this has 4 tabs as well. So what I'm gonna do is line up the tabs with the slots, press it in, rotate, and rotate, and rotate, and you're good. And you do the same thing to the other side. What we're going to do is we're going to put this right through here. Slides right in, followed by the wheel. The wheel, plug this piece over here, tuck this right in. We're good with that. Over here, if you notice, we have only a little space over here. What you really want to do is use your body and push it in like that. Use your body, push it in as much as you can. Put the washer on, make sure the flat side is facing the tire, followed by the nut. Use your body if you need to. Push a little harder, and then you start moving it by hand. Once you have it like that, you go ahead and tighten the nut. Okay, followed by wheel trim. You have your 4 tabs, line up your 4 tabs, and you just press it in place. Last but not least, we're going to go ahead and we're going to plug in the motors for the front only right now. So to do so, you get the blue cable, like the power cable over here, and you get the motor like cable over here. Plug that right in. If there's any lag, just go ahead and tuck it in a little bit. And on this side, we're going to go ahead and do the same exact thing. Get the motor cable, connect it to the power cable, like so. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to flip it over and put on the steering wheel. Now on the steering wheel, you're probably going, hey, where's that screw? Well, right inside the steering wheel, as well as the nut. So first thing we're going to do is unscrew the nut from the steering wheel. Keep one side against the nut so it doesn't fall everywhere. And you take it right out, like so. This will slide right out. Now to put in the steering wheel, You first want to connect this connector over here. Be careful, it's very, very sensitive. So you go ahead, you plug that right in, like so. Just make sure the leads align. Put it in there, you tuck everything in. Now when it comes to this, take a look. You want the steering rod to go right into that hole over here. And you also want to make sure that the steering wheel is right side up. So we go ahead, put it right in. Now, don't be afraid, but give it a little bit of a love tap. It's going to be a little hard to get in. Make sure it's all the way flushed in, because if it's not there and you put the screw in, it's not going to be attached, and your kid's just going to pull it and rip the wire. So we're going to go ahead, and now there's two sides of this thing. There's a part that looks like a hexagon and a part that looks like a circle. I'm assuming over here is the part that looks like the hexagon because I have the circle part on my side. I'm going to put the nut on this side, and then I'm going to go ahead, open the door, and I'm going to see if I can see light coming through this hole over here on my side. Once I find the light, I put the screw right in, and I just start screwing it in. Next, we're just going to go over the internals of the car over here. So over here, we have your battery. Over here, we have your RC controller. This is the thing, when you use your remote control, it moves your car, and we have your two motors below here. First thing we want to do is give your motors power. There's going to be two loose cables over here. This is what powers your motors. The long one will go all the way to the right side and plugs right into that rear right motor. And the short one will plug to the left motor right over here. Make sure you line up all the tabs and plug it right in. You have a cable in the way. There we go. So that's nice and in. Over here is your fuse. And now the last thing you need to do to power on your car is get the red cable terminal and plug it right into the battery. Like so. When you do that, you go to the dashboard. You can just hit the power on it, and your car turns on. Now, one thing you want to do once you turn on the car, let's check the installation of your steering wheel. Can you press the buttons? Yep, they work. So you know that steering wheel cable is also properly installed. Next, we're going to go ahead and attach the passenger side bar over here. There's many names for this bar. So what you want to do is make sure the screw side is up, and you go ahead, slide into the holes like that. Just give it a little bit of a tap. And there it is. Goes in pretty good from there. Next item we want to attach is the steering wheel. As you can see, we have about 6 tabs here. Actually, no, 7. 5 over here and 2 over here. We just go ahead, line them up right to the grooves. We tap it right in. That's all it is. Next item we're going to do are the side view mirrors. Go ahead, plug them right into the left, the right, and the left side. Pretty much it's going to be attached to the windshield, like so. And that's about it for that. Next, you're going to want to attach the seat. Now, when you do that, make sure you pull all the what's it called, the seat belts out over here. So you know what? At least they're nice and extended. You have 2 tabs over here, 1 and 2. Fit them into these tabs over here. So you go ahead, you bring them up right into these tabs, and then you just fit in the seat right over here. Now, in the same bag as the aux cable, you have these 2 pieces over here. You go ahead, you fit them in right through here, and you go all the way down. Now what you're going to do is you're going to get a flathead screwdriver, and you're just going to turn it 90 degrees. That's going to go ahead and lock that side of the seat in. Over here, this side of the seat is in, and there you go, it's nice and stuck. Next, we're going to work on the whole railing that goes on top. Now the word sport wants to always be facing the outside of the car. What you want to do is, and this hole will also face the rear of the car. I'm going to go in, put it right in the holes, give a nice little tap on this side, same thing with the other side. You go ahead and just tap it in, tap it in. Next part, we're going to attach this top bar over here. As you can see, these 4 tabs, they're going to face the front of the car, like so. Then what all you do is just give it a nice little tap. Tap it in over here. You always use them like something soft, like a towel and a mallet if you don't want to use your hand. From here, you have the lights. All they do, they just fit right into place over here, like so. Snap right in. Last part, the rear wheel. So as you can see, there's a nice groove on this side, and there's a groove on the back of the car. All you want to do is go ahead and fit it inside the groove. This one I'm going to pry out a little bit over here because it's totally against the plastic, and I'll just slide it right in. Next, we're going to pair this remote. To do so, we want to make sure the car is off. We hold down the M button. See? Now it's starting to blink. Once it starts to blink, you power on the car. It's going to turn nice and solid over there. Now, we're just going to try, I'm just going to go ahead and go forward on here while I'm sitting here. As you can see, the car does run. Now we're going to briefly go over the features of this car. Over here, we have the charging port right over here. We have your horn button as well as like a music button right on the steering wheel. You have your headlight button over here, your headlight switch. So once you go over here, what's going to happen is your headlights turn on. Now in terms of any other lights on this car, it's only these headlights and these yellow lights. Everything else is just trim. Now on top of that, we have a toggle switch between manual and RC. So over here, if you want to have RC mode, over here. If you want to have it in manual mode, over here. You have 2 speed settings, high and low over here, and then forward, stop, and reverse over here, followed by your foot pedal. Lastly, you have music on your left side, so you could hook up your aux cable or external media storage, and you can play music directly from the player. Well, I hope this video was helpful. If you still have any questions, please contact the First Drive team, and we'll be more than happy to help you out. Thanks again.